Hello and welcome to Spine Live, our live show bringing you all you need to know from the Spine race right in the middle of the race. We're here in Kirkyetum at the finish line. We've had our first finisher across the line from the Challenge North, and I, Camaraderie from the Spine team, am absolutely delighted to be joined by
Will Roberts,
Allie Bailey,
Damian Hall.
Brilliant. So we are going to talk to you a little bit about the Spine races and give you some insider insight from the ultra running community, from the media team, and yeah, it's going to be a really enjoyable little bit of time here. So, well, what a race it's been so far. We've had the Challenger North come in overnight, or the early hours of this morning. Paul Grundy, what a run from Paul.
and what a delightful guy. I mean, Paul Grundy, I think, my favourite thing about him so far, have you seen his packed lunches that he's got? His kids have packed all his supplies into these meticulously put together little packages with little notes of encouragement in them. So, I mean, everyone along the way has absolutely loved Paul. We've been sort of willing him forwards. I'm not trying to, take credit for his performance there or anything. We haven't literally been pushing him forwards, but yeah, great to see him come in this morning. We've got our first runner in. So.
Yeah, it's brilliant. And Paul's been a little bit of an unknown quantity to us, to be honest. Had any of you heard much about Paul before the race?
I must admit I hadn't. But what we keep hearing is, so at one point he was issued a time penalty, wasn't he, because he missed a diversion. And what I heard was that he just went, oh yeah, fair enough. And he was winning the race. He didn't know the gap between the next runner, but he was just totally unfazed by that. And for the really long stuff, to not be stressed about those sort of things really shows, well, he's got the right sort of character for this sort of stuff, and I guess we've seen the proof.
the talk of all the checkpoints is just how nice he is and how chilled he is and how he just takes everything in his stride and is offering out snacks and like reading out his kids' messages and stuff. And he just, and like this morning coming down to breakfast and just seeing him there, he just looked like he just walked in off the street. He looked so fresh.
It was annoying.
He was annoyingly fresh.
Yeah.
Nobody should look that fresh after the
polite,
spine.
no dramatics, it's just a joy to see, isn't it?
It really is. And actually, what we discovered about Paul in our research and chatting away to him, he's got a lovely story about coming onto the Pennine Way. But actually, he's also like a 5k runner. I mean, he's an absolutely rapid 5k runner. 16-minute 5k or something, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's a bit unusual for ultra runners. Normally, you see in the ultra running world, you sort of, you maybe aren't as fast anymore, so you start to go long. And I think that's...
You were never fast,
You were never
so you use
fast.
it as an excuse.
Cammy, we don't say that bit out loud, all right? But, I'm going to push myself under the bus here. I do some research about the runners before the race. I pulled up Paul Grundy. I saw these incredibly fast 5 and 10K times and assumed I'd got the wrong guy. So it just wasn't in my notes. But yeah, extremely rapid man. Yeah.
That does take a certain mindset as well, because for a faster runner it can be tempting. It's easier for them to go too fast too soon. So he's really measured it well.
Yeah, he certainly has. He's been absolutely striding. I mean, he's a tall guy, so I wonder striding through the bogs has been good. He's got that big gait, and I think that's, maybe served him well. If we look down the back of the Challenger North, then we've got a few sort of approaching the final parts of the course. Well, do you want to give us an update on the chasing pack to the podium? It seems a pretty set pair now.
Oliver Richards and Ivica Spajic, yeah. I'd love a little insight into what's going on there. I think it's worth bearing in mind here as well that what we see on the tracker is them being side by side all the way up the course, and I'm already writing this buddy film in my head, this absolute love story, but actually they might be a few hundred metres apart the whole time trying to overtake each other, and I can't wait to find out what that is actually out there. But they're doing incredibly well. They've been right on top of each other all the way up the course. And of course, Ivica has been through this before. He knows this course. He's done incredibly well here in the past. And another genuinely lovely guy. Yeah.
What I know about Ivica, he's running with like bamboo poles and he's wrapped them all the way down. I mean, they're like golf clubs, the wraps on his on the poles he's running with. So I wonder if that's and we saw with John Shield, for example, who's unfortunately DNF. He was running in them. So John's really hurt his wrist in that because he hurt his ankle and his calf, and he was having to move his hand on the poles and be over reliant on them. And he ended up saying with really sore wrists. And I wonder if Ivica, when he's covering that tough terrain, his hands are all over the poles. Because I've got to say, some strange run technique, but I'm pretty. If it's working for him, right? Whatever gets you there.
Yeah. Well, and this is it. If he does come over the line in joint second with Oliver with those bamboo poles, you can imagine that Lecky will release a series of them next year, and everyone will be running with them. So yeah, good for him. Maybe it'll work out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, do you want to put yourselves in their mindset? They've ran together for most of the race. Do you think at that point you're thinking, right, I'll settle for a joint second, or is there a wee thing niggling in the back of your head, Damian? You think you're going to go, right, I'm going to just drop the hammer the last 100 metres and come screaming across the line?
I mean, I've been in that situation myself a few times. It really depends on the individuals, depends on what their aspirations were pre-race, depends if they're getting along well. They might be getting annoyed of each other by now. If they've been sharing snacks and so on. It just really depends. I mean, that is something, really special about our sport, that people do that. But then I've done that once and looked back and thought, actually, I should have raced him. So let's see.
Is there a discussion, or is it just a Jedi thing? Like you either know.
I think you need to clarify it. You need to clarify it. Otherwise, there's a risk of the person.
At what point on this course do you clarify it? Just before you come over the hill? Is there a few hours of chat?
Yeah, you're probably an hour or two out where you start to. Or if they speak a different language, you pretend you didn't understand.
Okay.
And,
that would do it.
Yeah.
No Espanol. Off you go. Yeah.
You carry on talking, being really friendly, but both of you just start getting a little bit faster as you get closer to Kurt Getton. See how it pans out.
Do you think that's going to benefit them, Allie, working together like that?
Honestly, I think it depends. It's like, I can't think of anything more awkward than having them running with someone and being like, oh, you go first, or actually, you've done a better race. I just can't. It blows my mind to think about that situation and to think about just the whole awkwardness of it. Like, I don't want to be that person that runs off, but I do want the trophy. So, I don't know. I think it depends on the personalities, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And well, the situation is almost mirrored in the female Challenger North race. So we spoke about the men. We've got the kind of podium, seems to be pretty set. And it's been a similar story over there. There's been a bit more switching back and forth. Nikki Spinks well out ahead.
Nikki actual Spinks. Yeah, the legend that is. Former volunteer, Nikki Spinks. Yeah.
Current volunteer. She met me at the end of the summer Challenger South. She was there
But that was in the past.
It was in the past, yeah. But she, like, to watch Nikki, like, this sounds like a terrible thing to say, but at Nikki's age, she is still absolute top of her game. And you've got her being chased by women who are like 10, 15 years younger than her, and they are nowhere near her. She is just the absolute queen, isn't she? And she's just doing every photo I see of her coming up the checkpoint, everything I hear, she's just like, whatever. It's like she's out for a Sunday long run.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Nikki she is. I mean, her background is fell running, so she's very good on the rough terrain, and it is really rough at the moment, especially as it's sort of changing, isn't it? It was cold, and it's warming up, and that just makes it slushy and sloppy, and just it's rough. It's hard to move on, but she's really good at that. But it should be known that Nikki does put milk in her tea before the tea.
Oh
no!
I mean, I'm a huge Spinks fan.
Can we cut this bit out?
I think more people should know that about her.
Have we just publicly cancelled Nikki Spinks? Is that what's happened there?
I mean, there are certain socially acceptable.
There are lines you can't cross.
Yeah.
Someone flashed
points
the
of
red.
tolerance.
Someone flashed the red alarm.
Yeah.
We're going to get cancelled today.
Sorry, Nikki.
Yeah.
Well, talking about cancelling Nikki, two people are certainly trying behind her. Samantha Lasone and Rebecca Harmon.
I've got to say that's an excellent segue.
Yeah, well
done.
that's why I'm here. I can't offer much about the running, so I'm here to segue us for the good stuff.
Segue back.
But yeah, Samantha and Rebecca, I mean, they've been running together for a lot of the race, and they very much, with the men's challenger, we were a bit unsure of the dynamic. We know the dynamic between Samantha and Rebecca. They were sharing snacks, helping each other. They were like helping sort each other's feet at one of the checkpoints when I bumped into them down in Alston. And I think, that is going to speed them on, right? There are two people that are out there have decided that to run their best race, they're going to help each other. And we don't know if that's going to carry right into the end if someone starts to fatigue or things change. But, going back to what we were saying, that's going to help them, right? And is that going to help them close Nikki down? It hasn't seemed to happen yet, but you wonder if that teamwork there, is that going to speed them up a bit?
I don't think it'll help close Nikki down, but I think I know Sam quite well. I don't know Rebecca, so I don't know. So I don't know if this is a new like coupledom. I don't know if they knew each other before, but like I say, for what we've seen in the checkpoints, they are sticking together like glue, and it's definitely working for them. I can't see them splitting up. I can see them coming over that line together because I feel like they've worked for 2 days, 3 days nearly to do this thing together. So I think that you'll probably see a joint second on that. And knowing Sam is Sam is just an incredible woman. She's so kind. She's an amazing runner. She's one of those women that doesn't know how good she is, and gets very she gets very nervous before races, but then she puts in these incredible performances. And I just think that if I was to run that distance with someone, Sam would be the person I'd want to run it with.
Can you help us pronounce her surname? Because I'm pretty sure I've been getting that wrong every time.
Lissauer?
Lissauer?
Sir? I'm not sure.
Oh, you're not sure?
Yeah,
That makes me feel better.
A Lissauer taste in the mouth, the name pronunciation. That's absolutely brilliant.
Well,
Brilliant, Damian.
thanks, Damian. Good stuff.
We rely on you for the puns. I'm glad you're here.
We actually don't
Yeah.
rely on you for the puns, thank God.
So, if we look at the mountain rescue team challenges from Challenger North as well, it's been a bit of a split up affair in the men's race, and in the women's race, they're actually all running quite close together, all within about 10 miles of each other. Jen Whittaker's led that out from the beginning. She's just come into Greenhead, and I think for them, they're running behind a lot of other people that have covered their ground. It's going to make it boggy. They're mountain rescue, so you reckon they're going to be hardy, used to the hills.
You'd think so.
You'd think so anyway.
Used to carrying a lot of weight.
Yeah, and
that's
used to
it.
carrying a lot of
Yeah.
weight, yeah. But you wonder if, that rough terrain that they're going to be coming up, especially now as they start to move towards the Cheviots coming at Bellingham, is that going to slow them down?
What were the Cheviots like? Because there was all sorts of terrible like rumours about what they would be like. What were they actually like?
Well, yeah, I ran through the Cheviots last night, and they were cracking. Yeah, I mean it's squelchy as you might expect, but there's hardly any snow left up there. I actually thought it was really good conditions, but it's so those who don't know the route, like the Cheviots, right at the end. It's about 26 miles of big round hills, really remote. So it's the longest sort of section away from sort of normal life. So it's like one of the hardest bits of the course right at the end. There's almost no water up there. There's a couple of emergency huts with some staff in, but it's a really hard finish to the race. The hardest section kind of thing is right at the end. So it's it's tough. It's tough.
Well, in the men's MRT, it's been pretty set from the beginning. John Lovegrove, he's been well ahead. He was running up there with Juvica for a while, but then he's dropped back. But
Am I right in saying he's ahead of Nicky at the moment? Even
I think
he has at least been at times.
He's been around. Yeah, I think he's definitely. They've been moving around each other's orbits anyway. He's kept pace with the front pack of the men's Challenger North and the women's Challenger North. So I think he's definitely putting in, but he's running his own race now. He's dropped back from everybody else, and I think he's very much just putting his own pace. But he's been consistently at the times. And just behind him, dogging his heels, and who did run with Nicky for a while, is Joe Farnell. They were together for a fair whack yesterday, and he's again stayed consistently the same pace behind John the whole way through. But just as you were touching on the northern part of the course there, Damian, I think, am I right in hearing that there was an exhibition match in the Cheviots yesterday, and I wonder if that's maybe where you're drawing some of this intel from.
Well, Cameron, people are making a lot of fuss about this Kim Collison guy and whoever gets to the wall first, but someone's already got to the wall first this year, and that was me. I ran through the night to get to the wall. I was test running the Sprint North, which is basically the last 43 miles of the route. And for these guys, they get into this one of the most spectacular sections. But let's be honest, they'll want it done. It's hard to enjoy it because you've been going so far. But just starting at Bellingham and running the last bit, it was an absolute treat. Actually, had a full moon, lovely sunset.
As you put it last night, it was just nice to run that section while you weren't feeling like a car crash of a human being. Yeah, while you were cognitively aware enough to actually take it in.
It was a real treat, and it won't be so much of a treat for most of these guys. So.
Yeah, no, not likely.
Well, there we go. Talking about guys coming into it then, let's do it. Let's look at the full spine. And let's have a talk, and let's try and figure out what's going on here at the front, because we've had things moving around a little bit. You guys know these runners intimately and well. I think...
Intimately.
Well, depends how intimately we want to get. But anyway.
What sort of show is this?
Let's
do we need to... Is there a rating? I don't...
it's going out live, so we're going to
Spine
have to
Live
hear...
Nights.
Yeah, Spine Live Nights.
Yeah. Come back at midnight.
Well, I hate to break it to you, mate. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. So.
Oh, right, no, okay. Sorry, we lose track of time here. 9 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday doesn't mean anything to us.
Wednesday.
Let's talk
Wednesday?
On a Wednesday, yeah, it's Wednesday.
Proving my point.
Let's talk about John Kelly. Bit of a mired race. He's been up and down in terms of the positions. Last we checked, sat about fourth. What's going through John's head? You know John well, David.
Yeah, he's not going to be very happy. Let's be honest. He's won the race before. He's come here to try and do a faster time. And, he's been chasing Kim a long way through the night, and it looks like he's slowed, and he's going to be unhappy. It's probably the best way of putting it.
He does get fueled up on unhappiness, though, doesn't he?
Yeah, no frustration, just driving. But I think, if I'm honest, I think he knows, unless Kim has a mishap.
Oof.
I think John knows he can't catch her now, and in fact, John has slipped back now, hasn't he? So there are, he slipped back to 4th, is it? So Dave Phillips, bit of a dark horse, is having an extraordinary race. Is pushing him, and Tian Irvi, is that how you say it?
Irvi, yeah.
So people might not know him well enough actually, but he's won the summer Spine in an extraordinary time. He's been at the Winter Spine before. He's had amazing runs. Well, he's from Guernsey, right? So he's done the South Downs 100, but also out at Tour de Gion and Tour de Glaciers. He's had incredible runs, so he's very experienced. And those two are...
And that was recent, right? That was last year, the Tour de Glaciers. He won that. And, you mentioned the incredibly fast summertime that he did. Dave Phillips is a summer winner as well. Yeah. So they both know the course. Yeah. They know the routine. Obviously, warmer weather, a bit less boggy underfoot. But, they've both absolutely got it in them.
They've been together with Sam Skinner actually for quite a long time. They were all together in a little sort of threesome, like a sort of boy band threesome, like chasing those others down. Sam's dropped right back now, but I just wonder what the conversations were with them, because literally they've been together for like 50 hours and then suddenly they started to split out. And is it just a case of, do you know what, like, I'll let you go, mate, like, it's fine, or is it now that the competition starts? Like, and the other thing is, there was a point where John was slipped back to 6th, then he went back up to 2nd. Like, anything can happen if people like get to the point where they're so exhausted they can't go on. I was talking to Damian about this earlier. Is it better to take those 3-hour sleeps and then try and do 50 miles, or is it better to take 10-15-minute naps every 10 miles? Because that's what we're seeing with the men's race and the female race, is the little bed icon is appearing more and more, and they're kind of cracking on bed, and you can't tell what they're going to do.
Did I hear you have that conversation with Lucy yesterday, that she said she'd had more sleep at this point than she'd had through the whole race last time around?
Yeah, so Lucy's race last year was marred by her inability to sleep, and she comes from a triathlon, Ironman background, so she doesn't do sleep, and it was new to her. But when I spoke to her yesterday at Dufton about this time yesterday, she was like, I've had an hour and a half, and that was more sleep than she'd had for the entire race last year. And she is, we'll talk about the women's race in a minute, but she is blitzing it ahead. So we don't know what that sleep strategy is, and it's all right for us to sit here looking at the screen being like, oh, this is going to happen, that's going to happen. But if suddenly Kim is whacked by a sleep monster and is like, even if he sets his alarm and doesn't go off, anything can happen. Like, anything can happen. So there are huge gaps between people, but I still think, don't start putting your money on people just yet.
No, absolutely. Like Dave and Tian are ahead of John at the moment, but that may well be because John has chosen to take an hour's rest somewhere and they've pressed on, and they might pay for that later on in the day today and be overtaken by him again. So yeah.
And those three we can see here, they're very close actually.
Yeah,
so
they
a real
really
fight
are
for second place. Well, even for the overall win, if Kim just slips or something in the Cheviot.
Oh, stop saying it. I've got to see Kim get to the finish line this time.
Did you set a trap in the Cheviot?
Yeah, I said it for John, that's the problem. I'm a bit worried Kim's going to fall down that hole I dug with my shovel.
Your shovel? But it's useful for something.
That would take a while.
Well, I was up there a while.
Yeah.
But I've got to say, at this stage of the race, so they're all, to use the cliche, they're all hurting, they're all physically uncomfortable, they're all very tired. But how well they move and their mindset really depends on basically how they're doing against their expectations. So John probably expected, or at least hoped and planned, to win. So the fact that that's not looking that likely right now will kind of slow him down. Like, it's hard to fight against that. Kim was hoping to be where he is. So just for example, with Dave, currently in second place, I don't know him well enough, but he's probably quite happy, quite thrilled to be in second place. So that's probably going to spur him on more.
But he might not know he's in second place. He might not be looking at his phone.
Should we give him a call?
Told him.
Should we give him a call?
This is the thing. Some people, some people don't like to know where they are. And Dave, he's one of those guys. He's not on social media. He doesn't make a big fuss of stuff. Like, is he looking? Does he know? Does he even care? Like, this is the thing. It's you can never tell, can you? But what is that feeling like when someone has overtaken you, and you know about it, and you keep talking about being deflated? Tell us, Damian, how does that feel?
I mean, I've had exactly both experiences from this stage of the race. I've left Bellingham knowing I needed to catch the guy up front to win the race, and I've done it. And I've left Bellingham knowing that I was chasing the same guy, a young man you may have heard of called Jack Scott, young enough to be my son, chasing him and knowing I wasn't going to get him, and it's crushing. It's crushing. After you've done all of that, you're sleep deprived, you've put so much into it, and just knowing there are many, many hours ahead of just feeling disappointed. And it's not that pretty, I'll be honest. It's hard, and you just too much thinking time. But yeah, you try and take solace of, hold on, why do I do this stuff? And I remember that day, it's almost exactly a year ago for me, being up in the Cheviots, but it was a glorious sunny day. There was snow all over the place, and I did think, actually, why do I do this stuff? It's to be in places like this, and that made it. It didn't quite, make it all okay, but
let's not forget, like, the time that you did last year, like, take Jack Scott out of it, and, it was absolutely exceptional. So I think that there's that.
We were all saying that behind the scenes at the time, yeah.
Well, that is still the second fastest time, so I'm hoping, my heart, if I'm honest, if you're going to ask me, my heart says I do hope Kim Collison can win it. He's had 3 years in a row here where he hasn't got even slightly, he only just got slightly beyond halfway because he pushes and pushes. He wants to have his best run. So yeah, I do hope John doesn't mind, and everyone else, I hope Kim wins, but I don't want him to be quite as quick as I was last year.
Also, if you are Kim right now, and I can imagine if you're at the front end of this race, there are so many variables in the spine. There must be a part of your brain going, "Don't slip now. Don't slip now." Like it can't happen now. And Kim has had those 3 DNFs. Me right now, I'd be so hyper aware. I'd be so tense. Nothing can go wrong between here and the finish. But that's just me.
And we've seen people DNF 5K from the finish.
Yes, we have.
First place in the men's race technically in 2019.
Yeah.
So it's never over till it really is over. But I hope he's being careful. But there'll be a lot of adrenaline. There'll be a lot of tension of stress actually of don't mess it up.
If he DNFs now, we're going to take the flak for that because we've said all this. Look, we can't make this happen by saying it. Okay, just to be clear.
I've got a couple of crystals in my pocket, so I'm not afraid.
Here we go.
But this is 4 years in the making for Kim.
Yeah.
I don't want to get carried away, but I'm looking forward to
hopefully tears at the finish line.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's really summed up the men's race there, and it's pretty exciting, I think. We, coming into this, also were expecting the women's race to be, that's where the real battle is. Absolutely huge. And it has been, right? I'm not going to lie, it's been an absolute showstopper. And I think the Lucy Gossage, Robin Cassidy storyline that we're witnessing as these two phenomenal runners just bounce back and forth up and down the course. And right now, it's absolutely anybody's game. We've got no idea who's going to win this. Robin was in the lead for the bulk of the race, and then Lucy caught up to her. Then Robin slept at checkpoint, and Lucy has been, as you say, taking some micro naps. And now Lucy's a little bit ahead, but honestly, they're so close together. And
you've seen Lucy a lot more recently than we have, and Robin. Robin was just flying. She went out so fast. She was pushing really hard there. How is she getting along now? Had she tired herself a little early on, or is Lucy getting stronger?
No, it's the answer to that. From what I saw them this time yesterday at Dufferton, and they were together, and we left the checkpoint and we ran towards Crossfell. And our camera guy Jack couldn't keep up. He was like, he was literally saying to me, "You need to slow down. You need to slow down." I'm like, "They're not going to slow down because they're in the race. Like, you need to speed up." I was I had full kit, winter kit on. It was boiling. It suddenly got really hot, and they were jogging along, talking like I'm talking now. They're not out of breath. I could speak to them. They were coherent. Lucy had just had a sleep, and she was absolutely thrilled about that. Robin was running along, eating a sandwich and chatting to me. They were 160 miles in, and I think the longest race that Robin has done in one go is 100 miles, and she's obviously won Dragon's Back, which is a multi-day. And I did think she would treat this more like a multi-day. I thought she would be sleeping for longer and trying to divvy it up into days, but she's just cracked on, and she has had those sleeps. But honestly, I've never seen her and Sarah Perry look so fresh, and they haven't stopped. And actually, Lucy has got faster. Lucy seems to be getting faster. But like you said, they are leapfrogging each other. But the camaraderie between them, the reports of them coming down High Copnick yesterday, they were heard before they were seen because they were singing and they were laughing. I don't think that John and Kim have been singing and laughing. In fact, having seen them, coming through to they were not singing or laughing. So, you know, it's totally different. And at one point during that filming, Lucy said to Robin, like, come on, Robin, hurry up. They wanted to be together. And so they are crisscrossing paths, and we're getting reports that Lucy's leaving messages at checkpoints for Robin, telling her that she loves her. And, you know, you've got these images as well of the girls. You know, they're all so close, being told that someone's dropped out.
When Laura heard that Hannah had dropped out, those pictures, I mean, I was sleep deprived, but I was welling up at my laptop watching that come in.
It's genuinely like, there's a deep, deep care for everyone else and all the other women in the race, and that includes, you know, like Nikki, like Elaine, like Vic, people that they're told these people have dropped, and it's like almost, it's kind of like watching a war film, you know, it's like your comrades are dropping and you really, really care. I might be wrong, but I don't feel like it's like that at the front of the men's race. I feel like there's a lot more like, you know, I want to win this, and I don't care if you drop, and I just think it's really different. But what we're seeing is real consistency with the women. Like, so they've kind of got their places now. I feel like they've got their places now. If the Robin and Lucy thing is really interesting, and let's see how that pans out. But, you know, so the sort of third, fourth, fifth, I think you'll just see that consistent train moving, and the DNF rate amongst the women, there's so much less women than there are men, but it is low. You know, percentage-wise, it is low, and it's just an interesting.
And they're fast this year as well. They're really quick. If we look at if we compare the times of the men versus the males' record and the times of the women versus the women's record, you know, the female race as a bulk is just so much further up the course. And it's been rough underfoot, it's been challenging, and you're right, that sense of camaraderie, that support with each other amongst all of them, I wonder if in the early stage of this, when it was brutal, it's maybe helped them through.
They all know that they are with each other when they're not with each other. They have that connection. They all know. Sarah, I was talking to Sarah yesterday, who was, you know, Sarah's probably now a day behind the other two, but she's asking about them. She's supporting them. She's like, oh, that's amazing. They all know. So as you look down the Pennine Way, that camaraderie and like sisterhood works its way down to the last woman on that trail. And that is a really special thing to know when you're a female out there doing this race. Like, really special. And I think it will drive these women on to finish this race. I have no doubt in my mind that they will finish unless something awful happens. Like, it's magical, it's inspirational. Like, it's unlike any other sport when it comes to seeing these women do things that, you know, 20, 30 years ago we were told we could not do. Like, what an absolute privilege to be a part of.
Yeah, you're certainly right, and it is a real privilege. And actually to watch that really intelligent, clever, racing their own race attitude, I think it's really inspiring.
Sensible.
Yeah,
They're
sensible.
Eating, they're sleeping, they're drinking, and I feel like, I don't know, Damian, do you feel like, you know Robin, you've coached her, like, do you feel like there's more sensible behaviour within the women's racing, or?
Well, I mean, early doors, to use the football cliche, I mean, we were speculating whether Robin hadn't been that sensible because she'd gone out so hard and fast. But I would like to pay huge credit to her mentality, because obviously she's a fast runner, she's a brilliant 100-mile runner, and she went out fast. And so for quite a long time she would have thought, well, not necessarily I'm going to win this, but she was in a position to win it, and that had a good chance. And then when someone catches you, and this is what happened to me last year, it's really hard to stay mentally sort of focused and optimistic. And you know, when I was caught last year, I slowed after that. When I'd been overtaken, it didn't look like I was going to win anymore. But yet she's really stayed on a good pace, ran with Lucy a long time, and even now there's probably 4 kilometres in it, which at this stage, you know, it's a little gap, but it's not insurmountable.
It's an hour-long sleep.
Yeah, so she's really, I'm just really impressed with her mentality, that she can stay focused and stay moving so well, even though it's potentially not going as it was. But yeah, I'm really impressed with that.
I think it's part of feeling like part of the other women. They are all connected. I don't think she feels as keenly that she's lost that position. She's still part of almost like a winning team.
Is it more like I want to catch up with my friend rather than I want to take this from my women?
Maybe.
Well, if they're really friends, she wouldn't have run off in the first place.
That's what you said about Jack.
Yeah. Scumbag.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to hijack the thread here a little bit. There was something you said earlier that I wanted to come back to, which was about the guys up in the huts. And what we haven't talked about yet is all the other people that are out there on the course that are going to be there all week. And like the guys in the huts, they're like a submarine crew. They are tightly packed in those little refuge huts, and they are out there all week. And we've got safety teams like that, all pocketed together all over the course. Volunteers all up and down the checkpoint, and they're having their own race experience. They're having their own long week. Like what did you find up in the huts last night?
I mean, yeah, the staff and volunteers on the race are just phenomenal. But especially in the Cheviots towards the end, where they're having to hike up into the hills. It was dark, just about dark when I got to the huts, so they're sort of sitting there in the dark for hours, kind of just waiting for a runner to come. But especially in Hut 1, there were fairy lights up there, and I was offered soup, and someone had made me some sort of little vegan cake, which was delicious. Thank you, whoever made that. And just have that. Just people, they're not being paid. They just seem to love helping people.
Yeah,
they're here for longer than a week. And if you go down to like Langdon, Beck, Alston, Bellingham, those checkpoints that get so busy, you're trying to get people asleep, fed, washed, medicked, cleaned. Some are crying, some are happy. You're trying to do everything all at once, and you're not just doing it for a little shift. You're doing it 24 hours a day for 8 or 9 days. You've got that set up, you've got to take down. So I don't think we should underestimate like the time and the love and the compassion of those people, because honestly, without them, there is no race. We wouldn't be sat here talking about these front runners and riders. And for those people at the back of the pack, they're lifesavers. They're absolute lifesavers, and they're making dreams come true. So massive thanks to each and every person that gives up their time to do that, because it's an incredible thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously it takes your own individual strength, individual resilience, and stuff to push forward on here. But it's kind of a team effort as well. Like all those people in the checkpoints are willing those runners at the back forward. I've seen them bend over backwards, do anything, dig into their own personal kit and supplies over and over again, just to keep pushing them forwards and help them skirt those cutoffs. Yeah. It's just so tough for those guys at the back. So yeah,
it's the Spine family for a reason, right? Yeah. Everybody
Absolutely.
Here is invested in everyone getting to the finish, and whether you're an elite runner right at the front, or you're a runner that's been having a terrible race, everything's gone wrong for you, and you are fighting the cut-offs. You're getting into a checkpoint with 10 minutes left, and you have to get in and turn. The volunteers are bringing your bag out to the front door for you because there's not enough time for you to come in and get changed, so you can get your mandatory pieces and get moving on. They're there to help and support, and actually we're so lucky to have a huge team across all the checkpoints,
hugely.
catering, medical, safety, and just supporting everyone from start to finish.
Yeah, genuinely, it's an absolute privilege to work with these guys every single time. They are all amazing. Yeah. Love it.
Yeah, it is a privilege. Well,
I'm welling up.
Yeah,
it's not a proper spine race if I don't cry at some point. I just didn't realise it was going to happen now.
Wednesday.
Well, I've got to say, what an absolutely phenomenal experience this has been, and this is not the last. We are really lucky to have brought on a couple of amazing guests to talk about the front end of the pack, the guys. But don't worry and don't forget that the race runs on. The race for the elite runners might end today, but the race runs on all the way over the weekend for people at the back of the pack. And we're going to be bringing you all those stories as they progress up the course and really look at what it's like to be chasing those cut-offs, fighting your way through after 5 days on your feet. It's just, it's so brutal, and that mentality is so
make sure you're watching those daily update videos. You'll get all the interviews with the runners in the sort of mid and back of the pack and get a real view into their experience. And later in the week, am I overcommitting us here if I say we're going to try and do this again and sort of discuss that as well?
Yeah, I think it's really important for people, if they don't understand, or they've not taken part in a race like this, to understand that it's all well and good looking at these front runners and being like, they're phenomenal, look at them, they're breaking records. They're out there for 3, maybe 4 days. You've got people out here, like runners, for 7 days. Yeah. That takes a lot of endurance and a lot of mental capacity. And, I often say it's the people at the back of the pack that have the best stories, and it's also the people at the back of the pack that are showing the most resilience. Because if you said to John, you've got to be out here for 7 dadays, I'm pretty sure I know what he'd say, and you can't say it in front of that camera.
Brilliant. Well, Damian, Allie, thank you very much. Will and I, as always, are really delighted to have you helping us and supporting us. And to people at home, keep watching those dots. We're going to be bringing you all the action over the next few days.